is coming to education system of Nigeria. According to Nigeria Pattern of Education in Architecture, we do so much designs and we pass through rigorous training, and those training is majorly on hand design, drawing with pencil. When I mean hand design, is drawing with pencil. And you see that after school, when you graduate and you come into an architectural firm, you discover that you are far away from the business world in architectural practice. So you will now start afresh to learn software designs and AI rendering. And there are generations of architecture. We have pencil generation where they draw with pencils and paper. After that, we entered AutoCAD generation, ArchiCAD generation. Even now, we are in AI generation. But still, in this AI generation, it will be very difficult to enter any school that has revolutionized the architectural system of their education to fit in the trend, what is going on currently. Currently, what I think should be taught in school is either system design, which is software design, and AI design. Why can't we do away with pencil design?
That's a very question to ask. But the education system in Nigeria, I believe the persons involved, like the persons concerned, the executives concerned in determining the structure of education system, especially that of architectural discipline in Nigeria, chose to
Which is their code. Yeah.
hold firmly on that this thing,
Pencil.
on that pencil design, because maybe that's their criteria to assessing the students' capability architecturally. I guess maybe that's their yardstick or the criteria at which they can assess the students' knowledge in the basics of architecture. The cosmology of architecture, the origin of architecture, traced as far back as the early centuries. You studied history of architecture now, you know how architecture started from Egypt. Yeah. So they want students to understand the basics, to know that this is where architecture started, and this is where architecture is going, and this is where it is currently. This is the foundation of architecture. Okay? Because if you end up enlightening students or lecturing students on the postmodern or contemporary designs, or maybe the use of computer to aid their designs, because you think you have migrated to AI generation, you understand that they will lose the basics. They will not be grounded in the basics. In a situation whereby the computer fails, they cannot be able to produce a design. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
We are in a country, for instance, in Nigeria, where we depend on where power supply is not an institution where you can
Depend on.
rely on.
Yeah.
You get?
Yeah.
Maybe if you say you have a solar or you have a generator or any of those things, it can come at the center of everything and disappoint you. You get? Okay, let's not just say it. Maybe if you're in a situation where you are unable to get switched to a computer, doesn't mean you cannot produce a design as an architect. So they are training you to be useful to the society with or without the provision or providence of a computer. With or without computer, you should be able to produce something that is very nice and unique.
Yeah.
So that is why they cannot do away with that, the basics. The education system in Nigeria, they can barely do with it. Maybe in developed countries, you can say that there is reliability on power supply and all of this, the utilities and all of that. They can migrate, but it's not as if they want the student will not be informed of the basics of architecture.
Okay.
They will still know the basics. But as time goes on, maybe they know the basics in their first 2 years or first year in the studies in the campus, but as they elevate to a higher level, then they now migrate to computer. But in Nigeria, from first year to the final year is manual.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's only masters that is system design.
Yeah, you're talking about undergraduate level. Then in masters, you're allowed to use system.
Okay. When we go to construction site, the major challenges we face is that most of our clients uh, doesn't easily differentiate between engineer and an architect. So when you reach site, when they see a site uh, architect supervising the job, they will call the architect engineer. So I want to know what is the difference between an architect and an engineer, and what are their functions in construction site. When I mean engineer, I mean a structural engineer or a civil engineer.
Okay. I've experienced what you're saying. Anybody at all in this Nigeria is an engineer. Anybody, don't even care. Even a battle pusher,
Artisan.
let me not just go there. Artisan, a laborer,
Engineer.
without even saying a mechanic or someone that repairs generator, they're all called engineer. So the name has become so common
Yes, yes.
that they often use it. But come to the difference between an engineer and an architect. Mm, an architect is a chief builder of a building, of a construction team,
Yeah.
of a building project that initiates the design. An architect is like a creator, it's like a god to this design. An architect creates the design. This is the architect's view to the world. So an architect come up with a design, designs it, does the preliminary part of it, the considerations, not everything does happens in your design. So an architect initiates a building project, while the structural engineers, which are sometimes the contractors, are the people that are being contracted by the client to execute the architect's design, to execute the project. You get?
Yeah.
So the structural engineers, right? Most of them sometimes building engineers are specific, like professional building engineers are persons that build the house. Yeah. But structural engineers can still come in because of the structure. So structural engineers, which are the contractors, their part is to design the structure, to determine the load of the design. You get? So that is the major function of the structural engineers. So most time they're being constructed a project
So
built into the physical world, the architect's idea.
yeah.
So when the architect visits this, mind you, architects are not contractors. Architects doesn't get contracted. Architects get commissioned. Their clients commissions a project to an architect.
Yeah.
After the architect's design, then the client or the architect can now contract a contractor. Are you getting it?
Yeah.
So, and during the course of the project, the architect is invited from time to time to supervise the project, to inspect it, to make sure that what he designed is what is being built.
So in all this, where does builders fit in? Because when in this generation now, you see architects struggling to contract the job and be the one executing it. You see the structural engineers struggling, fighting to get the contract. Why the builders, uh, who the primary work is to build the work, the building, the construction is always sidelined. I don't understand.
Yeah.
What is the function of a builder, and how can we know our boundaries and respect our boundaries?
The function of a builder is to build the project.
Yeah.
Once the architect is done with his design, he sends the he replicates the replica of his design, and that particular design. He sends it to other construction teams the structural engineer to design the load, the structures, the mechanical engineer to design structural engineer, he sends to mechanical engineer to design the mechanical aspect of the building,
Yeah.
which involves the chamber, the circuit pit, the WC pan, and the jacuzzi or whatever. Then the electrical engineer that designed the electrical
Wiring.
wiring, the conduit wiring, and all of that. So he splits his design to these professional teams to produce a replica of their own design. Then to building engineer doesn't design any. But after gathering these designs, the blueprint is handed to the building engineer,
Which is the builder.
which is the builder,
Yeah.
to execute the building project. In a well-developed country, these are resolved to develop the project, the builder. Although most times the architect is called upon to set the building,
Building setup.
to set the building. You get? So the architect is called upon to set the building which he designed. Then the builder now continues. Yeah. So that is the work of the builder. But unfortunately, builders are being silenced. They're being silenced, and it's full-time silence because the architects are struggling to regain their integrity in the country, to regain their functionality. The structural engineers, being the fact that their project is majorly, structural engineers, part of their project is building, part of their project is road construction.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and talking about road construction, it's not a project or bridge construction. It's not a project that is being handled by just a single person.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And not even just a small firm, a construction firm. You get? So it is handled by a construction firm.
So all of them are running into building.
Into building. So you find that many civil engineers they are now fully
Struggling
not even struggling. They are now fully
into construction,
into
building
building
construction.
construction majorly. But not just building construction, designing and constructing. Have you seen it? So that is just the major challenge. And when mind you, an architect has the knowledge of constructing. He has that knowledge. Yeah, he has a vast knowledge in building construction. Okay. Why a builder, sorry, a civil engineer has a vast knowledge in building construction, but not to designing. Doesn't have knowledge in designing. Yeah. So an architect can construct, but he doesn't have license to construct. So when an architect is struggling, a civil engineer is struggling, then a builder, which builder we even wait for? So you feel that they are just being silenced.
But I think there are some laws that should be put in this country, at least for the professional teams to respect their boundary. There should be professional boundaries, and we should respect it so that everybody
to address this issue, I think the economic stability of the country should be stabilized, should be friendly. Because most of all these things are in developed countries, it doesn't happen. It's in Nigeria, maybe in Africa. And that is because of the economic quagmire.
Okay, thank you so much for your explanation about the functions of engineers, architects, and the builder. But there is another important profession that I would like you to explain to us their function, and that profession is a quantity surveyor. I want to know what is the function of a quantity surveyor in the construction team.
Just like you called them, the quantity surveyors, they are the quantifiers. They are part of, let's say, a department in surveying that specializes on quantifying the cost of materials and components of a building project. The total cost of a building project. So that's their primary assignment. They quantify it and they prepare the bill of quantity.
Okay.
They tender it and prepare the bill of quantity. They get it.
Yeah.
So that's their major work. To tell us the cost of cement, tell us the cost of reinforcement, to tell us the cost of the door, all of these things. They just quantify everything. Then they come up with the total bill. They present it to the client. That's their work. They don't have any other work.
They don't have any other
They
work.
don't have
So you want to let us know that a quantity surveyor cannot be a project manager.
a project manager.
Yes.
What type of project manager?
Like to manage the site, not a site supervisor, not a builder. Like to make sure that the quantity they are in charge of, because if they give quantity information that
It's not necessary.
they will follow up to ensure that there's no wastage
It is not necessary. Don't,
for them to check
no,
waste.
it's not necessary. I think I think in Nigeria itself, apart from quantifiers, there is a particular board.
Yeah.
There's a particular board that visits the building project. When before the building is being initiated, they will submit the blueprints of the building about how many copies to the local planner
For approval.
for approval. So during the course of the project, the ministry sends delegates to that particular project to inspect the standard of their materials. You get? They come to inspect the standard of the materials. So if they're using low quality material, it is considered for this kind of project. And that is why in most buildings, you see that stop work. You used to see they bad it and say stop work. One reason for that stop work, maybe the person did not submit the blueprint for approval, or that particular space that the person is building is in the map. It's designed for a different purpose. Like maybe there should be a road in that place in the map, like in the drive map, or they use certain materials. So that is one of the that is I think there are many other reasons why they put that stuff up. But these are the ones that I know. So that is they supervise the quality of the
Material.
materials.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for your answers. Coming to preliminaries, most of the architectural students they struggle with preliminaries, and I don't know where the problem is coming from, because the major emphasis is always on design, design, design. So when they are now given a very big project that requires a lot of considerations, they will now be lacking behind in design preliminary. Please, can you tell us what is design preliminaries?
That is school standard, but
Yes, school standards.
I want to understand that um, the normal architectural standard outside school
It's always
is
different.
different from the primary we consider outside school is different from the primary we consider in school. Not as if that they don't consider those ones. But going through that extensive studies,
Yes,
we delay design process.
yes.
We even delay the construction process. Yeah, but it is being taught in school to inform studies when we are acquainted of this. This is in normal, functional, or proper architectural practice. All the things are supposed to be studied. When in real life, it is not necessary. Yeah. So coming to school standard, the preliminaries involves that is the basic things you are supposed to know. You're supposed to study before you initiate a building project about a particular geographical area where the site is to be situated.
Yeah.
Before you initiate, that is the preliminary. And the major preliminaries are the analysis, and the considerations.
Coming to design consideration, most of the students normally find it difficult to cope on design consideration because their major focus is on design. I mean, in school, they are competing within themselves, who their own design is much better than others. So they don't focus on, they don't even know that there are so many things they have to consider. So I want you to lay emphasis on design consideration.
Okay. I don't know how A reasonable person can embark on a design without considering some things. Every design has a consideration. Every single design has certain things that are preliminary to that particular design and should be considered before embarking. And one of the major things to consider in a design is accessibility. Is this project in this location accessible? First of all, the location. Once you know the location, once the location is defined, then the accessibility. Is this place accessible? What's the route that leads to this place? Is it easily accessible? People find it difficult. I get it.
Yeah.
So these are the things you consider. Okay. So that is a consideration. Let's say is an anchor that guides a design, a functional design rather. Because if you are designing a hotel, for instance, you should know that a hotel wants visitors. So many visitors you get.
Yes.
So you are not expected to be told that you should provide lots of parking spaces for the visitors.
Okay.
It's a consideration. It's just those things. This consideration is just those things that makes this building functional aside the spaces, aside the internal spaces. You know, a building is not functional. It's not just functional with the internal spaces. The internal spaces can be functional, but the external thing that should be considered, which should add up to making this design or to making this project functional or standard to to the topic, the standard of this kind of project. I get it. The standard of this kind of building design or this kind of building is the standard, the considerations. You get so when it lacks that consideration, if maybe you design a functional hotel. Let's see use hotel as an instance. You design a functional hotel, then you put it two parking spaces. Just like a residential, because you think that your rooms are functional. Then you put two parking spaces. It's not functional. It's no longer functional.
Even guests will be afraid to come to the hotel
Yes.
because their cars will be in danger.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
You don't provide the security. It is not functional. You should provide the security because visitors lives and properties are supposed to be secured. Are you getting me? So these are the major considerations you should consider. They're talking about hotel. Are you getting? So that is for hotel, and that is the things that make up to making that adds up to making this project, this design, this hotel to be functional. So that are the considerations, things that is expected to be seen in this design, things that this design should have.
What are the types of design consideration?
That's the design.
Do we have anything like types of design, like climatic consideration,
Those ones are analysis.
environmental?
Those ones are under analysis.
Okay, those ones are.
No, they are generally called design preliminaries.
Okay.
That is for school standard.
Okay, can you define them?
So the preliminaries has to do with the analysis and the considerations. I've talked about the considerations. Now the analysis. The analysis has to start with investigation. That's investigation. That is where the client visits the site. That's the site itself, and make some investigations on what and what that are in this site. That is the free gifts of this site, the mentions of this site. And they all add up to the analysis. Because the analysis, you have physical analysis, you have kinetic analysis. So
Okay.
in that physical analysis is where it adds up more. Because in that the investigation adds up more to the physical analysis. Because during the course of the investigation, the client will get to know the location of the site, the accessibility, the topography of that site. If it is steep slope, if it is gentle slope, if it is plain. Yeah. To know the vegetations that are in that site. You get?
Yeah.
You know the beacon, the boundaries in that site. You get me?
Yeah.
You know the water supply. If there is any proximate water supply, if there is no water supply, if there is any existing building, if there is no existing building, if there is, then moving forward you can study about the ecology, types of plants and animals, but those are not really necessary. But why they study is because of to know the types of the kind of animal that harbor in that particular
Area.
area and in that particular land. Anything because all these plants enrich the soil nutrients and all that. So these are the part of analysis, as physical analysis that favors the investigation. The other part of investigation is climatic analysis. Then the climatic analysis studies about the climate, you get the weather condition of that particular location,
Yeah.
how the particular location responds to rainfall, wind, relative humidity, sun radiation, and all of those things. So how they respond to it. So that is what the climate science is all about. Because when you study, you know when uh, uh, when the area receives the highest rainfall, so you put it in your consideration. If the area receives a very high rainfall, maybe if there is any single rain in the area, there will be flooding everywhere. If during the course of the investigation, you find out that during rainfall, the flooding in this particular area, can like I'm thinking about the professional word.
Can affect the building.
Not just affects the building, maybe will even penetrate into the building space.
And cause damp.
Not just damping, to got like flooding
Okay.
and this damage materials and properties of people living around. There is one project my boss handled at Alam. You know, Alam is known for
Swamp
flood.
area.
It's a swamp area, so they're known for flood. It's the hospital. You know what he did? He raised the foundation. This is a consideration. So during the climatic analysis, you investigate on this. And although this place is a swamp area, so when it rains, it affects buildings around. Yeah. Well, maybe this place is not a swamp area, but once it rains, the flood destroys the properties, damage people's properties. So you have to consider it. And that's my question. What he considered was a high foundation. A high foundation, very high foundation that is up to 3 meters this time. So he raised the foundation above the normal playing ground, like normal ground level. Yeah. So I think he raised it up to 3 meters or something. So you can access it.
3 meters.
Yeah, it's very high.
Wow.
Maybe not 3 meters, but maybe almost up to or even not 3 meters. So you access it to the ramp with a staircase. So there's a staircase there, there's a ramp there. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
So that, and what is supporting it are columns. Lots and lots of columns that penetrates to the ground. So this is the consideration that he did because he understand that when it rains, even it doesn't even need to rain, not now. It's a swampy area. That's the major consideration that he did it. That's what I'm saying. But in climatic analysis, like in rainfall, you consider some of those things. The highest amount of rainfall in this particular site. Then we still study about the solar radiation, the temperature, the sunshine. Right, because you have to consider it because it is the results or the results you get from investigation will aid you to the type of window that you use in that project, to the type of glass that you use in that project. Even orientation is part of it. You get so the according to the investigation, they find that this particular building is very much exposed to the sunlight. And how do we cure it? That's why they put window blind. How do we solve this problem? What's the solution to it? They put window blind. What's the function of window blind? To resist sun penetration, sun reflection.
Thank you for joining us in this amazing construction podcast. My name is Aliko Kechiko Success from King's Architects. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscription is free. We are set to give you quality construction content. We are set to give you quality construction knowledge. We are set to give you quality construction information that will help you as a real estate developer. Thank you and have a nice day.